Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. About 2 weeks ago, I finally went for my latest round of Botox. It was my first time going to New York Presbyterian in Eastchester. As I explained in episode 23, Times They Are Changing, my doctor had left Montefiore Headache Clinic and was going to New York Presbyterian. At the time that she told me, and she was leaving, I was very much emotional in my feelings about it. I had been going to Montefiore for 8 years, really the second part of my chronic migraine journey, but the first time I really ever got true help and set me on the path forward that I'm at today. While I had a lot of emotional attachment to Montefiore, the building, there was no way I was going to let my doctor not follow my doctor, especially since her new place took my insurance, thank God. Because as much as I was attached to the building, I knew that it was her and us together that got me where I am today. And so I was very anxious to see what this new facility would be like. It's not a headache clinic. It's just a regular doctor's office, but even so. So, of course, because insurance is a bitch in this country and everything needs to go through a million people and the bureaucracy is insane, I missed my Botox appointment. It was scheduled for October 21st, was a Monday, and even though I had months to prepare and months to get in line, it went awry. Because it's a new hospital, the way that they get the Botox is a different system, and of course that involved a myriad of other forms and contacts and phone calls, and I can't even discuss it. I can't even go back down that road. What I have to say is that the people at New York Presbyterian, the team there, I brought them cookies from Brooklyn when I actually did go for my Botox appointment. They were that helpful. Like, I couldn't have done it without them. I'd still be waiting. I mean, I must have talked to the same woman 5 times a day, every day for 2 weeks. She knew the severity of me needing the Botox. She knew what it took. She never made me feel like I was bothering her, even though I'm sure that I was, and she had an actual job to do, even though this was part of it. And I never felt like it was in danger of me never getting the Botox, which I felt in a lot of other places. You know, any doctor's office, just getting a phone call back, even from the receptionist, even to confirm an appointment, even if it's minor things, always seems to be like such a struggle. And it gets to be very tedious and overwhelming and sometimes feels like my full-time job. And I just can't bear it. And so having somebody on the other end that I didn't have to explain any of that to, that already knew that she was going to be on the ball and do whatever it took and kept me apprised of how it was going. I didn't have to keep calling her back and stalking her and saying, how about now? Do you remember me? What's going on? What's the latest? It was constant line of communication. And that was really important to me. It was my first impression of my new place, and it made me feel safe and like that I was in good hands. I also knew she was in contact with my doctor and explaining that even though my doctor at this new place is only going to do Botox and procedures on Monday, it's pretty common for neurologists, headache specialists to do that kind of stuff. They want to see new patients on certain days and patients that have more of a routine and that they can get in and out of on separate days. So that my doctor knew that to tell this woman that no matter what, just get down, and as soon as you can get the Botox delivered here, we'll fit her in somehow. And they also knew I was coming from Brooklyn. It took me about an hour and a half. I did really good with traffic, maybe a little less, but it's quite a ride from where I am. But again, my doctor is worth it. The thing is that you need to sort of be aware of when you're going for these referrals or authorizations, if it's your first time, that depending on your insurance and depending on the place, the facility's policy, it's sort of like 2 separate charges, if you will, to your health insurance. It's for the doctor's visit, the doctor injecting the Botox, and actually the Botox, which is considered a prescription. You know, so it's kind of a complicated thing. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it is. Anyway, so I went for Botox about 5 days after I was originally scheduled for it. And boy, by that time, I was hurting. This is my second visit, I believe, of going for Botox now that I'm fully off every preventative medication that I used to take for my chronic migraines. I'm really feeling it now. When I'm due for Botox, I am due for Botox. I suppose the little bit of coverage that I got from my daily preventatives at this later date was sort of helping me cushion that blow. It varies every time, but when I'm due for Botox, depending on the weather, depending on what I'm doing and how I'm feeling, if anything else is going on, health-wise with me, how much I feel like I need it. And it's not that I feel numb, like it's feetsy like this. I can't really move my forehead, so I'm numb now. It's fully set in. But I never really feel numb or not numb. It's more of a feeling of, okay, now I'm in pain. Oh, it's pouring rain, and now I'm sleeping for 12 hours a day. In the last couple of years, that's really been my MO. I used to get terrible, terrible pains in my head when it rained. And sometimes I still get bad pressure. But now what my body does is it puts itself in this catatonic state where, like, I could have slept for 4 days in a row and it doesn't really matter. But if it's going to be a bad storm or something, my body knocks itself out. No control over it. I guess it's a way that it's just trying to protect itself and shield itself until whatever passes. But I'm better with that than I am with the pain. I feel like when I'm always due for Botox, it's always a rainstorm or something is going on in the weather that's abnormal, but might just be coincidental. So like the last 2 weeks leading up to this particular Botox, I was in need. My shoulders hurt so bad. And I was like, why are my shoulders hurt? And I was like, oh, stupid, you need Botox. For those of you who have not seen my Botox video or don't remember, it's 41 injections through your forehead, scalp, all the way around, down, and down my shoulders. Once I have the Botox, it hurts in different spots. This particular time, my forehead didn't hurt at all, and that's usually the worst spot for me because it's the least amount of fat on my whole body. It's like right into your forehead, so it feels like it's going into your skull. It's not, but this time it was the worst in the back of my head. Who the hell knows why? And anyway, so I get to my doctor's appointment. This time I was able to have my mother come with me. Normally she's at work when I go for Botox, but the way the scheduling worked out, it's a very, very tiny place. They still have valet parking like Montefiore, which was nice. It's across the street from a Starbucks, another safe space for me. And very efficient. But it's just such a change because Montefiore was always a different kind of experience for me. The headache clinic there has big signs. It's a quiet zone. There's a no perfume zone. It's dark. It's cold year round to accommodate all the people that are suffering from different headache disorders because that's the things that we have in common. And so to walk into a bright fluorescent room where it's just a regular neurologist's office, not a headache clinic, and people are there for other doctors as well, it just sets the tone, you know. But the women were very helpful, like I said, that worked there. Everyone was super duper nice. The place is nice. And then I saw my doctor. And she said it's just nice to see old faces and familiar faces and, you know, her patients. A lot of her patients followed her there for good reason. And it was nice. It was weird to see her in a new place, but in the same breath, it was that old familiar feeling. It's sort of like when you have the same teacher again. You're in a different grade, but you still have your same teacher. And there's that kinship. And so it was nice. We caught up a little bit. I got my Botox, and I was on my merry way. The entire time I was at that office building, which wasn't very long, but I just kept saying to myself and probably out loud to my mother that all the things that I liked better about Montefiore, the Montefiore experience for me. And I know I have to let that go, and it's totally fine. And I got what I needed. I needed my doctor and the Botox, and everything was handled perfectly. I go back in 3 months as usual. I already have my appointment, no problem. But of all the doctors that I go to and all the whatever, Montefiore was always different, for better or worse. And I guess my Montefiore experience for me initially started out as, it stood out because of it was worse than any other doctor's appointment or dentist or whatever you go to. Not only in its physical characteristics, but emotional and health-wise and what I was there for, what I was going through. And now I'm just sitting in another average doctor's office, just doing what I gotta do. And it's very symbolic for me. It's very, I am a normal, I hate to use that word, and it's not even the right word, neurology patient. My doctor is still a headache specialist at this place, and hopefully they'll be able to start their own headache clinic to help a lot of other people. But it made it more, I guess, normalized is the word I'm going to use, and it doesn't stand out against the rest anymore. And while I used to hate that, it used to be a lot of trauma for me initially when I started to go to Montefiore, especially before they modernized their clinic and was in this other building. But it just is a big symbol and signal to me how far I've come. And while I'll miss the accommodations, I suppose, it's just an average day in my life now. This is what my new normal is. And I'm just going for maintenance. I am a maintenance chronic migraine patient. I assume it's like the feeling you have when you lose 100 pounds, right? Like you're dieting, you're working towards something, and then you've hit your target weight, and now you just need to maintain. And that's where I'm at. I'm maintaining my migraine status, keeping it in check. And except for the days where I'm getting close to Botox, or I'm just having a day where I'm going to get a migraine, because it's going to happen. But it'll be more manageable because of the Botox. I have the tools and the medication, if necessary, to conquer them and do what it takes. And so now I'm just going to be another girl sitting in a waiting room. No anxiety, no crying, no fear, no what if, no. I just remember so much fear in the beginning. But this is me, being average. Anyway, after I got my Botox, it was a Friday, so I celebrate Pizza Friday. And I went to the pizza shop in Eastchester, had a slice of pizza, and worked my way home. Got Starbucks, of course, and then proceeded to come home and nap and try to do the rest of my normal Botox rituals. It was a little bit off because the day was a little bit off, but whatever, it's not a big deal. That Botox, I think, and I mean, sometimes I get incredible fatigue from it. I don't know that I felt so much fatigue, but for the next few days, I was sort of out of it. My body hadn't really been acting right. My stomach was upset those weeks. That happens to me sometimes. The weather was bad. So I slept for about 4 or 5 days. Not completely, of course, but I didn't really do much. I didn't write much. I didn't record this video when I thought I was going to. And so it just sort of hit me. It wasn't the kind of fatigue that I normally experience with Botox, where it feels like you got hit by a Mack truck and it's like that flu achy feeling, like deep into your bones. I didn't have that, but I was just sort of tired and out of it and crabby or cranky, I suppose, but no big deal. The pain went away. It's been about 2 weeks, so I feel like it's fully set in. Usually I feel it within a few days sometimes when I really feel like I can need the Botox. But I feel like this time it took about at least 7 to 9 days before I really felt any sort of relief. And I guess maybe it's a gradual relief, And then by the time I noticed that, I'm like, oh, my shoulders aren't killing me anymore or whatever. Or I noticed the weather and I'm like, oh, I remember that I didn't get a warning. There was no pressure. There was no all the other symptoms that I get. Sometimes I get a lot of nerve pain in my teeth when it's going to rain or stuff like that. And sometimes that will still happen. to me once I'm numb from the Botox. I guess it's just my body's way of reminding me that I can still sense those things around me. But anyway, I just wanted to share that little tidbit and that little update. And so I hope everyone is having a migraine-free Tuesday. And as always, if you are looking for answers, please contact me at social media at The Queen Blogger. You can email me at thequeenblogger@gmail.com. And if you are just beginning to find the answers in your migraine journey, please see a headache specialist. That's a neurologist, but it's a specialized kind of neurology in order to really get the help that you need, because there is help out there. And I hope for everyone the relief that I have found, because I know that I'm lucky and blessed. So with that, until next time.